Welcome, and today I wanted to discuss Tartaria and mud floods. What is Tartaria? It appears to be this great nation that covered our entire realm and was a great people. From the little we understand, they seem to have been a mixed race, one world empire, and they were builders of beautiful architecture and artworks and technologies in which we're just beginning to understand. Typically, they were known to use the symbol of the owl or the griffin or the two-headed eagle. And it seems this people was not only wiped out and conquered, but completely removed from our history. And when I first started looking at ancient history, I really did go way back, and the structures actually seemed ancient. And the more we look into Tartaria and the mud flood, it seems more and more recent, as little as 100 years ago, no more than 200. And fortunately, we have hundreds, if not thousands, of maps. We have their emblems on flags and artworks and sculptures, and there is no shortage of proofs of the existence of this Tartarian empire. And the great majority of the remains of this empire seem to have been repossessed and redesignated by and as government buildings, the greatest ones. And this even seeming apparent to me as a child, as I would look at the buildings in Washington, D.C., and think to myself, why don't we build like this anymore? And I have the exact same questions today. And this is a deep and heavy subject, hard to encapsulate in a paragraph or even a video. But it seems that these people have been completely wiped off the map. And now, how does this tie into the mud flood? We see cities throughout our plain with buildings that are buried, and what seem to be entire cities that are buried, as we can see here in Paris when they were making a parking lot. And whatever wiped out the Tartarians, a byproduct of the event seems to have been a bunch of mud-bearing buildings, entire cities, and a kind subscriber designed some t-shirts, and they can be found here at my Teespring shop. The link is below. And this one that we can see here in better detail depicts exactly what is going on with the mud flood. So here you can see the building is partially buried with mud, and new steps have to be built in order to access the building post-reset. Now again, I don't know the exact cause. There's several theories. Today we're only looking at the result. And I want to show you a prime example of this, because many people might say this is ridiculous, this could never happen, and find it perfectly normal to have windows halfway in the earth. And we can see this exact scenario in this picture of Salt Lake City. Now, this article is from 2018, still fairly recent. And they were asking what the foundation of the Salt Lake City Temple was composed of, granite or sandstone. And amazing that nobody seemed to question why these windows were halfway buried. Clearly, you can see they went down to here. And they've even put in nice lines here for us. Again, because their question was whether it was granite or sandstone, when really the question should be, why would the Mormon settlers build their building this deep into the ground? And the old entrance seeming to be right here, and it's been completely mud flooded, just like this picture. So here we see the windows and the stairs beginning at this point, just like in this picture. The stairs beginning about 2/3 to the top of the windows. And I'm not sure the exact reason for this modern renovation, but very revealing. And I did a video where I was walking around here. I walked up these steps and was walking along the top here. And yes, I was taller than these windows. Really incredible. And let's look at a few more pictures. Here again is a man. So here was the whole window. And another little look underneath the stairs. Clearly these stairs came after. And again, to present day, the dirt is clear up here. And you would never know that there were windows under here. And how deep does this really go? Perhaps this is it. And this temple is situated up on a hillside. So if there was a massive cataclysm, much of the mud would have settled in the central part of the valley. And now here I'm showing you Salt Lake City, which is pretty much in the Rocky Mountains. And this is a higher elevation, and we're seeing a partial burial of the building. But in cases such as Ohio, for example, a lower valley, the Fertile Valley, well, these cities seem to have been completely buried. And in some cases, just the tops remaining. And recently I was watching a Wise Up video, as you can see here, and he has these so-called Mound Builders. And we can see this video right here. And this is something that I'd been wanting to look into for quite a bit. And really, he shows some great examples of how what we call primitive sites are actually remains of advanced architecture. And here we can just imagine what massive structures existed, and now they're buried and we're just simply seeing the framework. And here a little look at the different mounds, and what are we seeing? We're just seeing the tops of structures that have yet to be excavated, and we call them burial mounds. And pretty ridiculous, especially these domed ones and the ones that Wise Up was showing in his video, seeming like the tops of these crystal palaces that we see all throughout our plain. And here's a little look at some of these crystal palaces, and really just seeing the imprint. If we saw a building like this that was completely covered in dirt, well, it might just look like some pyramid or a mound from the very top. And some sort of dome like this could eventually collapse and look something like this. And we see these ruins and believe that these belong to some primitive people building strange little dwellings with no doorways, and yet just seeing the collapsed remains of glorious structures that we clearly have evidence of existing all throughout this realm, and not a primitive architecture, but a very advanced architecture in which we can't replicate today, and our modern means being much less advanced than what we see in this old world. And the technology and the means to illuminate these cities long before our narrative tells us power was available is just astounding. And clearly we are understanding this tech now. What we often thought of as simply artistic adornment actually served a greater purpose. Technology with an artistic expression. And not only did this tech have the ability to power and illuminate this old world, but also things like boats. And I found this image on this Tartarian website, and here you go. Not sure when this photo was taken, but clearly utilizing this same tech, just like we would see a dome and two towers all over the place, dome and towers. And here we have this type of tech, and were boats simply retrofitted with sails when the technology was lost. Here's another little look. Very interesting. And I'm not sure, but I just did want to share this with you all. Devices that appear to gather static electricity, producing power, available in abundance, seeming to be the same technology that we're told Tesla tried to bring to mankind and was denied. And of course he was denied. This past civilization was denied. And why would they let somebody shine any light on this liberating technology? So really amazing, and a little off topic, but I think it was worth sharing. And lastly, I just wanted to explore this little plug that I showed in a past video. It was here in San Francisco, on the other side of the bridge, and what we could see is this marker for a star fort. And if you remember, we were talking about these round spots, and in the comments many people said that this is where they would have mounted the cannons, way up here. And as you can see here, they're even calling it a bunker at the Golden Gate Bridge. And shortly after the release of this video, a viewer by the name of Martin went up and took some pictures. And here we are. Golden Gate Bridge in the background, and here another little look, and really just seeming as if this old star fort has just been filled in and perhaps cemented over. And we can see in the background here just the top of a doorway, and there were lots of pictures like this. Really interesting and pretty silly to tell us that this is where they would have put the cannons, when clearly this was another structure, had another purpose, and it's been filled in, clear as could be. And here another perspective, and here as well. And again, to mount cannons or another purpose, and really fascinating. And I thank you for these pictures of what's going on up there. And really, I would love to explore this a little more. Not sure if it's possible to get in, but really fascinating. And yesterday I had a little look, and it seems like there were a lot of these on the side of the mountain. Here's another one. There we go. Let's turn around here. There we are. So someone knows a lot more than we do. Very interesting. And I hope to continue this exploration. But for now, I thank you so much for joining me. And do have a blessed day. Please like, comment, and subscribe.